Okay, let's jump right in. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today because we have an incredibly fun and creative journey ahead of us. We're going to dive into a beginner to intermediate guided masterclass on crafting a truly beautiful boho luxe wearable garment. Specifically, we are doing a full explainer on the Bohemian Meadow granny square tiered dress pattern. So whether you're a total beginner looking to level up your skills, or maybe you're an intermediate crocheter hunting for your next big masterpiece, this explainer is designed exactly for you.
Let's actually take a look at this stunning finished piece so we know our end goal. Just look at those beautiful colors and textures. This dress features this gorgeous semi-fitted bodice paired with a perfectly relaxed flared skirt that just screams boho chic. And the best part? The entire construction is motif-based. That means we literally build it piece by piece, from the top down. It's totally achievable, and I promise, by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to recreate this magical look yourself.
So, here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. Intro and required materials. 2. Master the granny square. 3. Building the bodice. 4. Skirt tiers and tassels. And finally, 5. Assembly and final touches. Let's get to it. Section 1. Intro and required materials. Gathering your toolkit. All right, for this project, you're going to need about 1,800 to 2,200 yards of worsted weight yarn if you're making a size medium. Ideally, you want a beautiful palette. Think terracotta, teal, sage, yellow, and cream. But hey, here is a massive pro tip for you. You really want to use 100% cotton or a cotton blend. Why? Well, because cotton gives you that crisp, clean stitch definition. It holds its structure and it drapes beautifully. I strongly advise against using 100% acrylic yarn for this specific dress. Acrylic can feel stiff, and it just lacks that gorgeous heavy flow we need for a tiered skirt. You'll also need a J-size 6.0mm hook for the main body, and I-size 5.5mm hook for the edging, plus your locking stitch markers, a tapestry needle, and some blocking mats. Let's do a quick rundown of our key stitches and abbreviations. If you're a beginner, please don't let the pattern jargon intimidate you. It's actually super simple. CH just means chain. SC is single crochet, and DC is double crochet. And trust me, that double crochet is going to be your absolute best friend for making these squares. SLST is a slip stitch. BLO means you only work into the back loop of the stitch, which creates a nice little ridge. And SB just refers to the space between your stitches. Just keep this handy as your little decoder ring.
Okay, listen up because gauge is critical. Before you even think about making dozens of squares, you absolutely must make a test square. 4 rounds of your granny square, using that 6.0mm hook, should measure exactly 4 inches by 4 inches. Now, a slightly looser gauge, maybe 4.25 inches, is actually fine if you want a more relaxed, drapey fit. But skipping this step, that is the most common beginner mistake out there. Checking your gauge is absolutely mandatory so your dress actually fits your body.
Section 2. Master the granny square, the foundational motif.
Literally, every single part of this dress relies on this simple 4-round motif, so let's break it down. Step 1 is your center flower, starting with the magic ring and your double crochet clusters. Step 2, create your corners using chain 2 spaces. Step 3 expands the sides, and Step 4 is your border round. By the end of round 4, you should be looking at a perfect flat 4x4 inch square. Now, you can go wild and rotate your color combinations freely for rounds 1 through 3 to get that classic boho patchwork vibe. But for Step 4, that border round, you need to use a consistent color across all your squares, something like terracotta or cream. This acts like a frame and unifies the entire palette, so the final piece looks like a high-end, cohesive garment, and not just, a chaotic blanket.
Now let me introduce you to an absolute lifesaver, JAG, or the Join As You Go method. Instead of making 72 individual squares and spending weeks, yes, weeks, sewing them together at the end, you join them while you crochet that final 4th round. When you reach the edge that meets a previous square, you just swap out your chain spaces for slip stitches, connecting right into the adjacent square. It is brilliant. This technique structurally connects the garment as you work and saves you a massive amount of finishing time. Game changer, right?
Section 3. Building the bodice, the front and back panels. Let's look at the math for assembling our flat grids. For a size medium, your front panel is 4 squares wide and 3 squares tall. That's 12 squares total. The back is identical, so that makes 24 squares for the entire bodice. And what's so cool about this is how easily you can customize the fit. Because each square is 4 inches, adding just one single square to your panel width naturally adds about 4 inches to your overall bust circumference. It's basically foolproof sizing.
And to achieve shaping without any complex stitch math, like creating that beautiful deep V-neck on the front panel, you simply split the top row and omit the top center square. You literally just leave a gap. It's that easy. The back panel's top row is kept completely solid with all 4 squares straight across for a standard back neckline. Keeping the pattern delightfully simple yet highly effective for shaping is really what makes this design so genius.
Section 4. Skirt tiers and tassels, adding the boho flair.
So you might be wondering, how on earth do we create a flared skirt out of square blocks? Well, it's all in the grid count. Check out this comparison for our size, medium. Tier 1, the upper skirt, is 10 squares wide around the body, but Tier 2, the lower hem, jumps to 14 squares wide. By joining a wider loop of squares to a narrower loop, you naturally create that beautiful, sweeping A-line flare. And the best part? No complicated increasing stitches required. The extra width just distributes itself evenly right around your legs.
Look, a boho dress just isn't complete without tassels. So before attaching Tier 2, you're going to add some tassel fringe to the bottom of Tier 1. You cut 8-inch strands, fold them, and pull them through every single chain 1 space along the bottom. Once that's done, you should see a gorgeous 3-inch fringe running evenly across the midskirt. Then, for the very bottom hem of Tier 2, you cut longer 12-inch strands to create a really dramatic 6-inch finished tassel. This is the secret sauce. It gives the garment amazing movement and creates this beautiful visual separation between the tiers.
Section 5. Assembly and final touches, bringing it all together.
Okay, we are in the home stretch. Here is your exact order of operations. First, hold the front and back bodice panels with the wrong sides together and whip stitch down the side edges. Second, crochet your waistband right onto the bottom of the bodice. This is just 3 structural rows of single crochet to give you a bit of light shaping. Third, hold your completed skirt loop up to that new waistband and slip stitch them together. And finally, crochet and attach your 14-inch straps. But please, and I can't stress this enough, pin those straps and actually try the dress on before you firmly sew them down. You really want to make sure the shoulder placement is comfortable for you. At this stage, your project will finally look and feel like a complete, structured piece of clothing. To take this from a handmade project to a polished, retail-ready garment, you absolutely cannot skip the edging. You're going to work 2 rounds, one of single crochet followed by one of slip stitch around the entire V-neck and the armholes. I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. These double rounds prevent the heavy cotton from stretching out or gaping over time. And of course, take the time to meticulously weave in all those loose ends securely on the wrong side.
Now, a very common beginner mistake happens right here in the finishing phase. The pattern explicitly states to wet block the dress. That means you gently submerge it in cool water, carefully squeeze out the excess, lay it flat on your mats to your specific measurements, and pin it. This evens out your tension so your squares sit perfectly flat. But, and this is a big but, absolutely avoid using a steamer on this project. Steam blocking is not recommended for cotton, and honestly, it could ruin your beautiful stitch definition. So, wet block only.
72 total squares for a size medium. Now, I know that number might sound a little intimidating at first, but remember how we broke it down earlier. That's just 12 squares for the front bodice, 12 for the back, 20 for the upper skirt, and 28 for the lower skirt. When you look at it as just making a few squares an evening while watching TV, tackling 72 squares becomes a totally achievable, deeply rewarding milestone.
Well, we've officially covered all the steps, from that very first magic ring all the way to the final blocking mat. You now have a complete, step-by-step understanding of how this stunning garment comes together. So the only question left to ask is this. With the foundational math and techniques mastered, what unique color palette will you choose for your Bohemian Meadow masterpiece? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Go grab your crochet hook, get creative, and happy crafting.